There is so much to explore. What kept him from finding the elevator? One, he didn't know it was there. He didn't know an elevator was available. So everything he touched and felt, he had a concept of what it should be. The elevator looked to him in the brain that could not see like a window that he couldn't open because his brain expected a window. Am I getting through? What is it you don't expect? What is it you don't know about? Or perhaps you've made up your mind is there or not there. And I want to tell each of you, the love of God is not limited to the one room that you live in. This is a metaphor. What does your room look like? Oh, sightless one. Because you don't have second sight, or because you don't have that which you would say is intuitive power, you tend to make up your mind what is there and what is not. There are answers and solutions for every single problem you brought here. They got your name on it, and some of them are on the second floor, the third floor, the fourth. I want you to leave this place and know that there's an elevator. Of course, it's a metaphor. You know exactly what I'm talking about. What is it you haven't done, you haven't thought of, or that you don't think you can do? Did you know that you sit in each other's merkabahs? Did you know this? If a merkabah or a merkabah, that which is the sacred field of the human being, is 26 feet wide, 8 meters, it means that every single one of you is sitting in someone else's merkabah, maybe overlapping 2 or 3, 4, 5 people. I want to ask you something. Have you ever thought of it? And if you have, what is it? Does it mean anything? When you're alone, you're not sitting there. When you're not alone around other old souls, are you aware of the elevator? Did you know that a collective consciousness is so powerful? Did you know that a collective akash can be something, a paradigm you've never considered before? What can you do as a group of like-minded people when all of those sacred energy fields are intermingled together and are one thing? Did you know that you could even change the weather? You know how big you are? But you feel alone, don't you? And perhaps isolated, don't you? Because of the singular bias of humanity. Everybody's alone. Everybody has one name and one body and walks from place to place alone. You think, and you don't. You don't think. I want you to get out of the box of singularity. The building is bigger than you think that you live in. Yes, there's an elevator. When you sit next to another old soul in a meeting like this, you have so much there that you don't consider. Basically, in a singularity, you look at somebody else and it's a hi, how are you? And that's it. Never understanding that there is a linkage to an amazing amount of power. And the power is compassionate, benevolent power. It's exponential what you can do when you get together. You know, the ancients knew this. When they had their meetings and got together, they knew this. They expected it. They made it work for them. When they didn't have enough food, they got together and created it. And the animals came to them. What do you think of that? There are some stories, and you wonder if they're believable, where the indigenous would get together, knowing that the power they had together could change Gaia, that they had control, literally, over nature, certain parts of it. And they would sit there motionless, together, intertwangled, twingled, whatever you want to call it. It didn't have a name. And it created something, and they waited, and the buffalo would come into their presence, would sit down and give up its life right in front of them. And they feasted for a week. I want you to explain that. This is the power of human consciousness. Allying with nature who is on your side, a benevolence that is on your side from the creative source which is on your side. Don't you dare leave here and think you're alone or that nobody cares. There's an entourage that walks out with you. But it's on the second floor. I want you to find the elevator, a metaphor that there's more than you think here, much more than you think. Old soul, this is what you waited for. Some of you are here for it. All we're saying is that there is more for each of you than you have ever considered. And it's much, much more than anything that was taught today. There are things to explore metaphysically, esoterically, spiritually within you that's going to bust things wide open. Years ago, the engineer who was the man in front of you sat in a chair and got curious. Who was Kryon? What was Kryon? Would it hurt? Would it be evil? A fair question, isn't it? Would it be something that would take over his mind and ruin his life? It's a fair question, isn't it? All based in fear. There are those listening to this who are asking the same questions and have paradigms that are occurring to them, and they're afraid of it. What'll happen? Will it hurt? Is it right? The Creator that is in you is part of you and is benevolent and filled with compassion and love. It's not going to hurt. It took a long time for my partner to realize that every single time he sat in the chair, what he felt was love. Because it wasn't what he was used to, it was startling. His bias often got in the way. Was it correct? Was it not correct? And over, all we did was give him love. Then there came a day when he knew it was all right. He found the elevator. This is what we're saying. Not so you can channel, but so that that which is your higher self can be met evenly with you. And you can begin a journey that you really had yet. You really haven't had it yet. It's going to give you peace over the greatest problem you think you have. It may not solve it tomorrow or the next day or next month, but you will have you'll have the ability to breathe because you know it's in your future. It's coming. Relax. It's part of you. And when the cycle is right, it'll be there. Spirit is not a judging spirit. The Creator of the universe has seeds within you. You will always be, and you always were. Death is a human occurrence, not that which is spiritual. The soul is forever, always was, always will be. Your name goes here, will always live forever. Your name goes here, always was. That which you hold so sacred, which is the core of you, the very thinking process that's alive in you, that has your name on it, is who we know. It is forever. You'll never die. Not that part. And you'll always be aware, even when you leave this planet, of the love of God. That's the message. It's a good one, isn't it? Filled with promise, beauty, if you want it. Free will, find the elevator. And so it is.